Not all missing persons cases start with a call. Some start with silence. This one was personal, because it was one of our own. Officer Daniel Harris, 4 years in uniform, respected by his peers, known for his calm reliability and quiet dedication. On the night of his disappearance, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. He was assigned to solo patrol, a standard rotation through the remote stretches of Pine Barrens National Forest, a place where the darkness hangs heavy and the silence presses in like a living thing. The radio logs show his last contact at precisely 2:11 a.m. Routine check-in. Calm voice. No sign of stress or alarm. Just another night in the woods. Or so it seemed. But after that, silence. Not even static at first. Just a hollow emptiness where his voice should have been. Dispatch grew uneasy as minutes turned to hours. When sunrise finally broke over the dense canopy, a search party was mobilized. They fanned out along the maintenance roads and narrow trails, boots crunching on pine needles, flashlights cutting through the lingering fog. It was one of these teams that found his cruiser, parked awkwardly off a service trail, its headlights still burning into the undergrowth. The driver's door hung open like an unanswered question. The radio was still on, but all it gave back was a thin, persistent static until, suddenly, there was a voice. It was unmistakably Harris. The words were strained, urgent, as if he fought to keep himself from shouting. "Don't follow. Stay back. Don't let it see you." The transmission cut in and out, distorted by static and fear. Searchers froze, listening, trying to make sense of it. The signal faded. When they approached the vehicle, they found no sign of struggle, no blood, no clear evidence of where Harris had gone, only his standard-issue jacket, torn and snagged on a low branch, and a trail of muddy footprints leading deeper into the woods, prints that seemed to fade away after a dozen yards, swallowed by the forest floor. It was then that one of the searchers spotted something hanging from a tree branch. Harris's body camera, still clipped securely, its lens pointed into the tangled darkness. The device had been recording, but the footage was almost unusable, corrupted, glitchy. The screen flickered with static, occasionally bursting into fragments of light and shadow. But there was movement, something large, indistinct, just outside the narrow cone of the patrol flashlight. Shadows flickered, shifting and unnatural, as if something moved with purpose at the edge of perception. In the final 10 seconds of the recording, Harris's voice came through, a whisper barely more than breath. "If you hear this, leave. Don't come looking for me. It's watching." The words echoed, laced with a dread that seemed to seep into the bones of everyone who listened. The search was redoubled, but hope faded quickly. No sign of Harris, no trail to follow, just the jacket and the memory of his words. Days passed. The Pine Barrens seemed to grow quieter, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. The official story was kept simple. Missing officer, ongoing investigation, no danger to the public. But the searchers knew better. They knew what they had heard on the radio, what they had seen in the corrupted footage. Whispers passed between them, sometimes late at night, when the wind rustled through the pines and the shadows seemed to move on their own. 2 weeks after Harris vanished, the radio in the Pine Barrens ranger station crackled to life. It was the same frequency, the same faint static. Then the voice again. Harris's voice, unmistakable, carrying the same strain of fear and warning. "Turn around." The message repeated once. Then the silence returned. There were those who believed it was a malfunction, a trick of the atmosphere bouncing old transmissions. Some said it was a prank, a cruel joke played by someone with access to the channels. But those who had been there, who had seen the car with its lights cutting into the mist, who had watched the body cam footage with its flickers of impossible movement, knew better. They remembered the trail of muddy prints that led nowhere, the torn jacket, the sense of being watched, even in the heart of the search party. The Pine Barrens have always held secrets, stories older than the ranger station, older than the patrols and the radios. The locals speak in hushed tones about things that move just beyond the lantern's glow, about shapes glimpsed through the trees that vanish when you try to look directly at them. Harris's disappearance became another story, another warning passed down among those who spend their lives in the forest's shadow. Don't stray from the trail. Don't patrol alone after midnight. And above all, if you hear a voice on the radio, especially one you recognize, don't answer. Don't follow. The forest seems unchanged, at least on the surface, but for those who know what to listen for, something lingers in the air. A tension, like the moment before a storm breaks. Sometimes, late at night, rangers on patrol report catching glimpses of movement among the trees, flickers of light or shadow that can't be explained by wind or wildlife. Radios occasionally buzz with bursts of static, and every so often there are whispers, indistinct, urgent, just at the edge of hearing. Some wonder what Harris saw that night, what moved in the darkness beyond the reach of his flashlight. They wonder if the warnings in his voice were meant for his fellow officers, or for anyone who might stumble into something best left unseen. The questions gnaw at the edges of sleep, at the boundaries of reason. What happens when the forest itself becomes a place you cannot trust? When the darkness hides not just animals, but something else, something watching, waiting, and perhaps still listening? The investigation remains open, the file thick with reports and theories, but thin on answers. Harris's badge hangs in the station, a silent reminder of the night he vanished and of the warnings he left behind. And those who listen, truly listen, know that sometimes the woods offer their own kind of truth, a truth whispered in the static, in the rustling of leaves, in the voice that says over and over, "Turn around." The department ruled it, presumed dead, but we never found him, or whatever took him. I still keep his badge in my drawer. Sometimes the radio crackles for no reason, and sometimes I hear his voice in the static,